A reading from the first book of Kings. The Queen of Sheba, having heard from Solomon's fame, came to test him with subtle questions. She arrived in Jerusalem with a very numerous retinue and with camels bearing spices, a large amount of gold and precious stones. She came to Solomon and questioned him on every subject in which she was interested. King Solomon explained everything she asked about, and there remained nothing hidden from him that he could not explain to her. When the Queen of Sheba witnessed Solomon's great wisdom, the palace he had built, the food at his table, the seating of his ministers, the attendance and garb of his waiters, his banquet service, and the burnt offerings he offered in the temple of the Lord, she was breathless. The report I heard in my country about your deeds and your wisdom is true, she told the king. Though I did not believe in the report until I came and saw it with my own eyes, I have discovered that they were not telling me the half. Your wisdom and prosperity surpassed the report I heard. Blessed are your men, blessed these servants of yours, who stand before you always and listen to your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord, your God, whom it was pleased to place you on the throne of Israel. In his enduring love for Israel, the Lord has made you king to carry out judgment and justice. Then she gave the king 120 gold talents, a very large quantity of spices and precious stones. Never again did anyone bring such an abundance of spices as the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
This responsorial psalm is, "The mouth of the just murmurs wisdom."
The mouth of the just murmurs wisdom.
Commit to the Lord your way. Trust in him, and he will act. He will make justice dawn for you like the light. Bright as the noonday shall be your vindication. The mouth of the just murmurs wisdom. The mouth of the just man tells of wisdom, and his tongue utters what is right. The law of his God in his heart, and his steps do not falter. The mouth of the just murmurs wisdom. The salvation of the just is from the Lord. He is their refuge in times of distress, and the Lord helps them and delivers them. He delivers them from the wicked and saves them, because they take refuge in him. The mouth of the just murmurs wisdom.
Your word, O Lord, is truth. Consecrate us in the truth.
Alleluia. Alleluia. Alleluia.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory be to the Lord.
Jesus summoned the crowd again and said to them, "Hear me, all of you, and understand, nothing that enters one from outside can defile a person. But the things that come out from within are what defile." When he got home away from the crowd, his disciples questioned him about the parable. He said to them, "Are even you likewise without understanding? Do you not realize that everything that goes into a person from outside cannot defile, since it enters not the heart, but the stomach, and passes out into the latrine?" And thus he declared all foods clean. But what comes out of the man, that is what defiles him. From within the man, from his heart, come evil thoughts, unchastity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, licentiousness, envy, blasphemy, arrogance, folly. All these evils come from within, and they defile. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I think this is one of the most pertinent readings in the gospel, especially today, because I don't think there goes by one day that no one in here is not affected by exactly what Jesus is talking about in here. Jesus is talking about what makes one impure, defilement. How does one end up being impure? Or in other words, how is one left with the stain of sin? See, the apostles and the Jews in the context of this gospel were thinking about another thing when he mentioned defilement. They were thinking about the ritual defilement or the ritual impurity of eating the wrong thing. And if anyone knows a little bit about Jewish custom, well, they have very strict dietary conditions. They can't eat certain meats, they can't eat certain fish, they can't eat certain things in combination because it leaves you impure. And so when they hear Jesus saying, no, what goes into your mouth that's not what makes you impure, is what comes out of your heart, they were probably wondering, Jesus, what are you talking about? Yeah, defilement, that's what you eat, that's what makes you impure. And Jesus was going a little bit beyond that. He wasn't talking about food, obviously, he was talking about something else. Not what comes into us is what is necessarily the sin. It's what comes out of us as a result that can be the sin or what defiles us. It seems like there's not one day, if anyone watches TV or even listens to the radio, there's not one day that goes by that we cannot escape a pornographic image. We cannot escape words. We cannot escape profanity. We cannot escape images. Just going through a regular magazine and looking at any advertisement, you're going to get more than what you bargained for. Watching a movie, you're going to see things that you didn't want to see. And so often that we're bombarded by these images, whether it be pornography, profanity, or anything of the such, impure things, things that defile, that we can't do a thing about it. Now, it's one thing if one looks for it themselves. You know the places to go to get it and to find it. Another thing is when it's being shoved down your throat. So like when you can't watch a football game without having a striptease show at the same time. Well, it gets shoved down your throat. And sometimes people will feel guilty, and it's like, well, you know, I can't watch football then, or I can't go to this, I can't go to the movies, I can't watch TV, I can't do anything apparently. Because if I indulge in anything of entertainment or anything outside of these four walls, it must be sinful. But we're not monks or hermits either. We got to engage that world. And we got to hear profanity. We got to hear people talk about things we'd rather not them talk about. And sometimes we have to, well, tragarlo, like it says right here in the gospel. And Jesus reminds us that, well, those things, even those impure things that manage to enter us, we get rid of them one way or the other. Impure food, it's going to go out one way or the other. And so with words and these other things, these images. The same way that we can't uneat something that we just ate and we know we shouldn't have eaten, but you swallowed it, what are you going to do? Sometimes we watch, we see things, we hear things, and we can't unhear them or unsee them. They're in there. And so that's not exactly what defiles. That's not exactly the sin when when these things are shoved down our throat. It's what we do with it afterwards. Does that come back out, and how does it come back out? And Jesus uses kind of a crude image in here. He goes back into the latrine. And so if those things that don't do us good and we rather not have, we crap them out somehow. We get rid of them in a different way. Or do they come out in another way? Through our actions, through our words, in the way we look at others, in the way we see the world, in the way we speak? That's where the sin can be. St. Ignatius of Loyola reminds us so many times about this in his spiritual exercises. That it's not so much that the evil thought or the impure thought entered your mind. It's what you do with it. That's going to happen. They're going to show up. Things are going to pop up in your mind. And if it doesn't pop up on our own, sometimes, well, we submit ourselves to the risk of getting those things, and they end in there anyway. what do we do with that afterwards? Do we dominate the thought, kick it out, suppress it, eliminate it? Or do we leave it space? Do we entertain it? Do we actually delight in it? Because watch out, the third one, that's the sin. That's where we enter. That's when we become defiled. And so I think it's something that we can put in practice every single day in here. And see, the psalm even confirms it. The mouth of the just murmurs wisdom. It's not what goes into the mouth, it's what comes out of that mouth that can render one impure, but at the same time can render one pure, can render one virtuous. Imagine for so many of us, that we have to endure so much impurity entering us. But if on the contrary, we exude and we let out purity, pure thoughts, pure words, pure actions, well, that's a way of disposing of that comes in us. Sometimes we have to deal with those things that we see that stay in there. But if we convert them to something else, if we dominate them, there's a virtue, not a sin. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.